So, congratulations, you guys. You made it through judging, and in fact, you made it through the first version, the first ever digital judging session that BioEHSC has ever had to face. So, uh, before we get into it, um, once again, I need to give a shout out to our sponsors. Without them, we would not have been able to make this possible. We would not have been able to provide the prizes that we are, and so we are immensely appreciative for everyone here. And social media, if perchance you happen to take a very nice screenshot of your Zoom call while presenting and you wanted to post that on Instagram or Snapchat or anything, be sure to put a hashtag BioEHSC 2020. And so now, before anything else, I would like to extend my appreciation to Jason Zhang, my junior chair, the members of the 2020 BioEHSC committee, the Bioengineering Honor Society Officer Corps, and Pam Reynolds and Jennifer Terrabaugh of the UC Berkeley Bioengineering Department for their help in making this competition a reality. I would also like to thank all of the former BioEHSC chairs for their valuable advice and insight that they gave, given the pandemic that this year's competition has had to endure. Thank you also to the bioengineering faculty, the graduate students, the postdocs, and the industry members that took the time out of their schedules to review and give valuable feedback on the designs and projects that the competitors have spent the past 7 weeks developing. All of these people were integral to making this day a success. And I can personally attest to the countless hours spent refining every aspect of this competition to fit a virtual format. I am furthermore proud to say that this tremendous effort saw tremendous results. I think I'm safe in claiming that this is one of, if not the largest competitions to be orchestrated online. Today, we have set a precedent of conduct for future virtual competitions. And so, you all spent the past 7 weeks developing a bioengineering project, created your own bioengineering video, developed your own bioengineering poster, and presented to a panel of bioengineering judges, all for a bioengineering competition. I think it's really only fitting for this day to end by me talking about bioengineering. In particular, I'd like to explain a little bit about how I personally became interested in BioE. So this is me. Back when I was about 3 or 5 years old, I was a pretty adorable baby. And I'll tell you a secret. I'm not actually a lifeguard, but don't tell anyone. So you'll notice, though, that there's a bit of a difference between how I looked then and how I look now. When I was 11, I was diagnosed with alopecia universalis, an autoimmune disease that causes total hair loss all over the body. I was completely bald, and still am. And while it has saved me money on haircuts, at the time, I was terrified. I was appalled at the very idea that my biology could betray me like this. It was a slap in the face, and honestly, I retreated within myself in an attempt to escape my own defect. I never went outside without covering my head up. And I developed something of a hatred for biology as a whole. I blamed it for my being, my lack of hair. And now, as I proceeded through high school, I was fortunate enough to have the friends that helped me grow out of this shell. They got me to come out of this shell and really do some, sorry. They got me to come out of this shell, and they may have also made me do a couple of weirder things. But even though I grew some confidence, it wasn't all there. Any sort of other activities, like I would never commit myself to. I was always afraid that people were not going to be looking at me as a kid that's doing something that he enjoys. I feared that they were going to look at me as a bald kid, some weird bald kid just doing something. And honestly, I was terrified of that notion. all this time spent in isolation was instead put into schoolwork. I had a lot of time to reflect, and so I learned how to learn. I became this sort of stereotypical perfect student to my peers, a seeming workaholic who finished everything with top-notch quality, when the truth was, I wasn't. I was putting in as much effort as they did. I just had a better sense of how to do the work. Sorry. And seeing them jealous at the fact that I was able to do this, that made me feel guilty. I retreated further into my shell because I couldn't communicate to them that it wasn't that I was smart. It was because I had spent too much time alone. And because I retreated back into my shell, I fell into a sort of a loop, a feedback loop. All because I was afraid of being judged for this baldness. So, as high school wrapped up, my distaste for biology sort of waned. I found that my reflective nature was actually a good fit to be admitted into UC Berkeley. And what's odd is that to study bioengineering, no less, I find it ironic even now how I spurned most of my youth this subject, and yet all of a sudden it became the topic of the focal point of my studies. In a sense, I entered UC Berkeley with the intent to try to solve my own problem, to do the research to cure alopecia so I could fix my own personal defect. And now, I don't mean to say there's nothing wrong with this. Like, I believe that it's perfectly reasonable to have a goal in mind when you set out to accomplish something. But the problem here is that I never really got over myself. I was still the overly reflective kid that watched YouTube all day and that people thought did his homework 3 weeks in advance. And when push came to shove, I didn't have the confidence to even try to apply for any programs. I told myself that it would just be a waste of their time by submitting an application, that they had better things to do than to consider me as a person. And this cycle, it continued. But one day, I went to go see a talk from Professor Adam Arkin about space synthetic biology. Arkin talked at length about the need for synthetic biology in space missions and outlined a huge NASA collaboration that he's currently working on. That night, I got to see just how wide the scope of bioengineering can truly be. We're taking microbes and using them for space travel, in essence. And I kind of realized at that moment just how insignificant the problem that I had was. You know, future human lives are at stake. Overpopulation and global warming are serious challenges to the way that we live right now. There are just bigger problems out there than this issue that I had let consume me for the past 7 years of my life. So I said to myself that I wanted to do research under Professor Arkin. And I wanted to throw myself entirely into this lab. It doesn't matter how little experience I have. What matters is that I want to work on this project that is important to me. I wanted to solve bigger problems than the issue that I had let consume me, that I had let take over my life in some sense. And so I applied to join into his lab. Here's actually an email that I received from one of his grad students, talking to him about, well, the potential to do research with him. And lo and behold, I got rejected. So I contacted someone else from his lab, again, inquiring about the possibility to do research under Professor Arkin. Once again, got rejected. And then I applied again, because that's a good idea. I reached out, I tackled the, I tackled the specific project that he had talked about when giving that talk, and I was very relentless this time. I was following up to his email more than a month after the fact because I wanted this. And so I got rejected again. But it really wasn't until the fourth time that I applied that I was able to actually make my way into this lab. And so this right here is actually Professor Arkin. He's a funny guy because he's intelligent but beyond my wildest imagination. But I think he spends more time playing games on his phone than I do, which is honestly kind of impressive. And this right here is Dr. Dennis Pia. He's my mentor. He taught me the ins and outs of these little things called bacteriophages, and he told me how to do good science, quality research. And now I'm tackling bigger problems, and honestly, I love it. One of my favorite things about bioengineering is this idea that organisms so small can address some of the biggest problems that we face today. Superbugs, those little bacteria, the idea that bacteria are becoming resistant to our antibiotics. This is something that we can tackle. This is a problem that we can face now. And I mean, for crying out loud, going into space, bioengineering has methods of helping and contributing to this problem. And so it's really amazing. Now, along the way, I do think that I hit the jackpot. I found a genuinely fantastic group of friends who have supported me, given me the opportunity to reflect on the journey that led me to where I am today. Many of them were actually here today, helping out and orchestrating this entire event. And honestly, I appreciate them beyond my wildest imagines. They got me involved in a little bit of outreach, in case you might be able to tell. Just a little bit, just a little. And more than anything, I think they helped me figure out a path for my future. They've helped me to learn that I want to help people to learn how to learn in the same way that I learned how to learn. In the sense that I will wish to become a professor and sort of inspire students to go on and to tackle these bigger problems that we're facing. But in any case, what do I want you to take away from this today? From BioEHSC, from talking with me, what should you learn? Number one, confidence comes from within. You really need to believe in your own convictions to accomplish the things that you set out to. If I were not confident about my desire and my certainty of joining the Arkin Lab, I would not have been able to make it in. Number two, persistence and not luck is what will truly help you to achieve your goals. It took me 4 tries to get into the Arkin Lab, and I didn't get lucky on any of those tries. I got better at applying and talking to the people that I was taught, the people that were potentially offering me mentorship. I developed a skill set in discussing and conveying my own personal interests in the subject matter. And number 3, if a microbe or virus can change the world, so can you. And I think it's pretty safe to say that indeed right now there's one virus that is kind of affecting the world, just a little bit. So there's no reason that we, as beings and organisms that are much larger than that, can't. So if I can develop a confidence to put myself out there and persist through these failures to get to do what it is that I love, then I believe that you can too. So thank you all for listening and for allowing me to share with you my love for bioengineering. Now, on a more logistical note, the next year, the 8th annual BioEHSC will tentatively be held on Saturday, April 10th, 2021. And perhaps more relevant to you guys, as we've mentioned before, due to this now virtual format of symposium, we are unable to deliver scores today. We will be delivering them tomorrow at noon at berkeley.zoom.us/my/BioEHSC. I look forward to seeing you guys all there. Have a nice day, guys.